Steelers fans, it's Saturday. It's in season. That means it's Steelers Saturday sit down with Around the 412. I'm Smitty. That is Tyler of Around the 412. Tyler, unlike what it has looked like on the offensive and defensive side of the ball for the Steelers, the record perfectly balanced as all things should be. Sitting here at 1-1 as we enter week 3 against the New England Patriots. I actually want to start on the offensive side of the ball and just jump right into it because I feel like there's a topic that has been beaten to death over the course of the week, which I typically try to stray away from, but I couldn't just because it has been bothering me. I don't understand the Jaylen Warren stuff. I mean, through 2 weeks, he's touched the ball 18 times and 13 times respectively. Out of running backs that have at least 10 carries a game, he is the 6th most efficient running back in football right now. I think he's been their best player on either side of the ball. I don't understand why he's not touching the ball more. I don't know if there's internally still some fear about what more of a workload would look like, especially without Caleb Johnson being able to contribute on the offensive side of things. Kenny Gainwell has not been effective between the tackles. How do you not give Jaylen Warren 25 touches this week and see where it goes?
I don't know. It was a bewilderment after week 1, and all of us, whether it's us, the media, the fans, were all confused about how much Kenneth Gainwell was touching the ball in that game, especially early on. It kind of died down a little bit as the second half of that Jets game was wearing on. But then, even though the touches didn't necessarily reach the same level they did in the first game for Kenneth Gainwell, the snap count did. And so it was a continuation as far as the percentage of plays that they were on the field. And it's bewildering to me. I have no idea why the fascination with Kenneth Gainwell, or I guess I should say what fascination with Kenneth Gainwell that the Steelers offensive staff has. This is not trying to dig at Kenneth Gainwell. I think he's a fine player, but I think that Jaylen Warren is easily the better player, your best player that you've had offensively through 2 games, and someone that you should see the ball get to him more, because I don't know if they're afraid of injury occurrence because of the heightened workload for him, or if they're just not sure that he can be that 1A and be that bell cow running back for the Steelers. And I think that Kenneth Gainwell can still get in the game at times. I think that he provides some good things in pass protection. I think that he can provide some decent things in the certain passing downs for the Steelers. But Jaylen Warren does those things, I think, just as well, if not better, than Kenneth Gainwell in pretty much every facet of the game. So it's confusing to me. It's a conversation that's gone on all week. You had a Smitty Steelers and 60 about it a couple days ago. Even though you're saying that you typically try to find different topics to talk about, I just feel like this is such a pressing one to talk about. It doesn't make much sense. And if the Steelers are not going to find the consistency through the air like they did in week 1 this week against the Patriots, the safety net for that would be Jaylen Warren, looking at what he's done through the 2 weeks. And I don't understand why they're not giving him the ball more, why they're not increasing his snap count offensively. We went over it on the Steelers show this week, and I think the snap counts were 58% for Jaylen Warren, and
week 2 was 36 to 26. Yeah.
So, and I said that there should be at least a 12% swing either way. 70% of the snaps need to be going Jaylen Warren's way, whether that be in pass protection or he's actually going to be touching the ball. He's one of, if not your best player offensively right now. And the fascination with playing Kenneth Gainwell still makes 0 sense. And we're 3 weeks in.
Yeah, I think for me, the reason that it's just, really bothering me is because things that are wrong with this team that we're going to talk about, such as, the defensive carryover performance from week 1 to week 2, and them still struggling to stop the run and still communication issues on the back end. There's not just one easy button to press and fix it. Offensively, it just seems like it's pretty easy just to give Jaylen Warren more touches. So there is an easy button seemingly to fix some of the issues that they have offensively. So I think that's why it's so bothering to me. But just as a whole, when I look at this New England defense, who I know it is only 2 weeks, but they're getting gashed through the air, 32nd in terms of passing yards allowed per game. I mean, Geno Smith lit them up and then got lit up by the Chargers defense. So drastic swing in one direction there. And then you look at what Tua did to them as opposed to the 2 other games that Miami has played and what they've done through the air. New England seems very attackable through the air, and whether or not they get Christian Gonzalez back, that's obviously a very important piece for them. And if he's going to have that DK Metcalf matchup, you got to find other ways to win through the air. Devon Achane had 8 catches for 92 yards and a touchdown against them. That is where I think Jaylen Warren comes into play as the receiving back that he can be, and I think that he can kind of fill that role. I do like, you're saying one of maybe I don't know. I'm pretty definitive on this opinion that Jaylen Warren has been their best player through 2 weeks, and that's either side of the ball. I guess if you want to include special teams, like Chris Boswell is probably going to be the Steelers' best player until he retires at this point. But offense, defense, I think Jaylen Warren has been their best player up to this point. It's probably been the Jaylens as their top 2. Jalen Ramsey is the other one. So I don't know. This just seems like a super easy way for the offense to do more is just play Jaylen Warren more, give Jaylen Warren more touches when he is on the field. Like, I understand the need for breathers and stuff like that. It's just when you don't have Caleb Johnson in the fold, and we'll see if he gets a helmet Sunday. If they don't bring up Trey Sermon from the practice squad today, I guess he's going to. But even if he gets a helmet, is he going to see the field? Like, I don't know. It seems kind of pointless for me to give him a helmet and have him not see the field, but we know he's not going to be returning kickoffs. I don't know. I have a hard time thinking he's going to have much, if any, impact. And if that's the case, I don't want to see the 36-26 split from the running backs between Jaylen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell.
Yeah, that's another thing that we talked about this past week is Caleb Johnson. Is he even going to see the field? I don't think that he's going to at all, not just in special teams, but in any facet of the game. I think that you can divide up the work just fine, which is pretty much what they've done through 2 weeks between Kenneth Gainwell and Jaylen Warren. And then if he's not going to play, I agree with you. Like, Trey Sermon probably should get the hat and be active this week. It makes no sense to either of us and to a lot of people to have a player that is in the doghouse that you have no intention of playing. I just think that that's a wasted roster spot in any given week, even if they only play a couple snaps of the game. Still, why would you have that player if you know you're not going to be playing him? And so, yeah, I agree. I think Trey Sermon, it would be best interested for the Steelers to do that. But I also agree that I think that you're going to find more success passing the football than you are going to be running the football for the Steelers offense this week. Through 2 games, the Patriots defense, looking at some of the numbers that they've been allowing, through 2 games, they're allowing 315 passing yards per game, but only like 50, 57, 58 rushing yards per game. And they were going against... I
do wonder, though, is that because of how successful our teams are through the air? Like, I'd be curious as to what, on a per touch basis, the efficiency is for that run defense. I'm not saying that it's bad. I'm more so curious. I don't know definitively whether or not. I'm just wondering, if they've been that bad through the air, is that the only reason that it looks like on the surface they are as good on the ground?
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
Trying to run against them. Yeah,
I could do the math real quick for attempts, but I think that just looking at the raw numbers, it shows that you're going to have more success passing the football than you are running it. Per attempt, they're allowing 3 yards per attempt.
Okay, so,
on the ground.
All right.
So not great numbers for any offense, and they're going against, not great teams in the Dolphins and the Raiders in week 1. But they went against Ashton Genty and Devon Achane. Those are fine running backs to have. Yeah. And so I think that if you're going to find success, it is going to be through the air. I think that you can have more success than you definitely did last week. I think last week, it was just McDonald confusing Aaron Rodgers and then Arthur Smith getting outcoached is really what it came down to. And I think that you're not going to see that this week. I think that despite Vrabel being in the Patriots system, I think that they're going to be better prepared this week. And I think that you have to be able to exploit them where you can. You know that they're going to be better in the running defense, than they are really either the other 2 teams that you've played so far, and you still haven't had success running the football. I think that the Steelers need to be aware of that and just kind of buy into what I think they're going to have success with.
It's like if you look at just a personnel standpoint, this New England team isn't very talented. We can talk about that on either side of the ball, but defensively, like they paid Milton Williams, he's a good player. Christian Barmore back up front. Like Glavion Chason is starting for them off the edge, opposite of Harold Landry, who I do think is a pretty good player. Robert Spillane has been getting picked on a ton through 2 weeks. That's who teams are targeting in the passing game in the middle of the field when these running backs and tight ends are having the success against them that they do. And then without, obviously, Christian Gonzalez, I mean, Carlton Davis has not had a great start to his Patriots tenure, and the safeties stink. Like, that's why I have no clue what the thought process was with getting rid of Jabril Peppers. We've had, like, Patriots fans in our YouTube comments talking about they have like Craig Woodson is starting for them now, who's like a day 3 pick of theirs. It's a young player, and he's probably going to get better, but like right now thrust into a very important role that he is not succeeding in. So yeah, I think that this is a very attackable defense, to be honest with you, through the air. Hopefully the Steelers can get their passing game back on track and have it look more like what it did in week 1. But I think it's going to be funneled, like I said, a lot through the running backs and the tight ends in this one. Maybe I was off by a week. I mentioned this last week going against Seattle. I thought that was a way to attack them. I mean, even more so this week. And I think that like the personnel lines up even better this week to be able to do so, especially if Gonzo is going to play and take away the DK Metcalf element. You're going to need a guy like Calvin Austin or Roman Wilson to step up in the receiver room, obviously, but you're also going to need those backs and tight ends to have a field day with the rest of that roster. So that's, to me, the way that I'm thinking the Steelers, if they're going to win this game, if they're going to put points on the board, it's going to be that passing game funneling through that way.
Yeah, and I think that they could have success. I look at like the linebacker room for the Patriots, and it leaves a lot to be desired. I mean, I'm sure this will be, I don't know if a revenge game is the type of word for Bobby Spillane, but because he's been a couple of years in Las Vegas, but I'm sure he didn't love his exit from Pittsburgh, and even a few years removed from that, he's going to be playing with a little chip on his shoulder in this one. But despite that, I think that this Patriots defense leaves a lot to be desired. Like, they don't have any dudes, is how I'd put it. Like, the only dude that they have is Christian Gonzalez, but he may or may not play in this one. Everybody else is like not bad players. Like, they're solid players, but they just don't have any of those like elite level players at any level of the defense besides Gonzo.
I started to chuckle because like I'm sure you've seen when people use this like GIF, but when The Rock, you know who The Rock is, even though you're not like the biggest wrestling fan, obviously, like puts his hand up at the top of the ramp, like stop. And I'm just thinking that's how Robert Spillane's going to try to use the chip on his shoulder to stop Jaylen Warren in the passing game. Like, I mean, he could want this as much as anybody, and he could play pissed off, but like it doesn't change his ability to cover Jaylen Warren out of the backfield or anything. Like, this dude's been getting targeted like crazy. They were going at him with Devon Achane, getting that mismatch. And you saw how that went for the Dolphins. So the Patriots ended up winning that game, but still the Dolphins were successful when they were able to get that matchup. So there's that. Let's flip to the other side then, talk about the Steelers defense. Still looking to get right after that week 2 performance against Seattle, going against this New England offense. So I went back and watched New England's first 2 weeks, and I'll be honest, Drake May is super impressive to me. I think he's playing like a top 10 quarterback right now. I don't think that he has the weapons at his disposal necessarily to bear that fruit when it's all said and done. But I think just individually, you watch the leap that he has taken, and it's pretty impressive just because a lot of guys, after going through that year that they did, like in a really bad offense last year, some guys just don't recover from that. And I think it's been impressive to see him take a leap this year, despite I think he's getting better coaching, but I don't know that the supporting cast is all that much better. I like the backs that he's got now, especially with Travion Henderson being in the fold. Ramondre Stevenson's a decent player. He's had a nice start to the season for sure. But like Stephon Diggs, like volume might still be there. He can find soft spots in coverage. He looks pretty, like I would say pretty much the same thing as Cooper Kupp, which like Cooper Kupp had like 90 yards against the Steelers. So like he can still win. It just looks very different. He's not the same athlete. He doesn't get in and out of his cuts the way that Stephon Diggs did at his best. So I just don't, there's not like that dude in the receiver room. And I don't know who, like how matchup wise that's going to look for the Steelers on the back end, what they do. Still no Joey Porter Jr. on the back end. I think Jabril Peppers factors into this one quite a bit more. I may or may not have been told that he was even running with the ones at points during practice this week. So I think that there's packages where he's going to be on the field quite a bit. Maybe we see 3 safety looks at times with Jabril Peppers. I think that they need it, not just from like the ability to play too high. You see how they've been getting burned when they play single high, basically in the same play 2 weeks in a row. They need another guy that can play deep safety. No offense to Chuck Clark. He's just not that dude. Good in the box, but you're not asking him to do that. So I'm excited to get Jabril Peppers into the fold, but because he can also defend the run, and they obviously need as many guys that can do that right now. And we haven't even talked about the Derek Harmon element of this yet. But yeah, I think Jabril Peppers, talked about revenge game. I think he's going to play, and I don't know if I'd say quite a bit. I think he's going to play a decent amount of snaps in this one defensively.
I would think so. I mean, coming from New England, not necessarily that he spent a ton of time with Mike Vrabel. It seemed like Mike Vrabel just didn't want him because of a scheme fit. There's still really no great explanation to why Jabril Peppers was even released by the Patriots. But I think that the Steelers defense is going to have more trouble with Drake May than a lot of Steeler fans probably realize, because not only is he passing the football really well and very efficiently, but like he's a guy that is kind of like subtly mobile, and like not someone that you would necessarily classify as a mobile quarterback, but definitely somebody that can get outside the pocket and create some space with his legs and create big plays with his legs. I think that it's going to be a long day if the Steelers cannot stop the run, because and that goes for the quarterback as well. And I think that a big part of that is going to be the success that you see from the interior of that defensive line. I think Keanu Benton needs to be better for the Steelers. I think that do we have word if Derek Harmon is going to play?
So that's what I was saying. Like, we didn't see an elevation yet. So if you don't see a defensive lineman elevated from the practice squad today, yes. Like, I think he's going to anyway, but like that would be the stamp. He for sure is. I mean, I don't think he's going to play a ton. Honestly, he's going to play into my bold predictions when we get there in a little bit. But my prediction is yes. We'll know definitively if they don't promote somebody from the practice squad today.
Okay. Well, even if he plays limited snaps, I feel like it'd be hard pressed to do worse than what the Steelers have been done so far through 2 weeks. And that's why, despite having the passing attack that the Patriots do, where you don't really have any like true number one receiver. I mean, even the Steelers, for the lack of talent that they have in their receiver room, at least they have like what would be considered a true number one with DK Metcalf. I don't even think the Patriots necessarily have that. Like through 2 weeks, Kayshon Boutte is their number one receiver. I think that
a little bit.
Yeah, but I think that what you're really going to have to focus on is the ground game and stopping the run, because I think through 2 weeks you've seen that if the Steelers cannot stop the run, the game's going to go quick and it's going to go ugly for the Steelers. And I think Ramondre Stevenson has done well so far this season. Travion Henderson, promising rookie from Ohio State, looks good.
More of so far, and,
I think that another place that they're going to have to focus on with like a guy like Ramondre Stevenson is Ramondre Stevenson has more receiving yards than he has rushing yards right now. I think it passes out of the backfield, they're going to have to key in on too. And I think that another matchup, probably my main matchup of this week, mainly because of the Alex Highsmith injury, is going to be Nick Herbig against Will Campbell, and just that left side of that offensive line for the Patriots.
Two rookies.
You got 2 rookies at the guard with Jared Wilson is his name, and then Will Campbell at the tackle spot, the first rounder. A lot of talent from Will Campbell, but I mean, Nick Herbig is also a great pass rusher. One of the most unique players I think the Steelers have in terms of like his skill set. And so I think that matchup is going to be a good one to watch all day. And I think that if they can get to the quarterback and make Drake May more uneasy, they can have success defensively, but also whatever they do on passing downs, it won't matter if they can't stop the run. That's got to be the main priority from the Steelers until they are able to do it and have success against a team, is stopping the ground game. Even if they have to sell out through the air and stack the box more, I think that they just have to figure that out, because I don't know that it has been a bigger disappointment for the start of a season defensively than we've had in a while for this game. And we've talked about how it's a continuation of what they had last year, how that losing streak, you were able to see the Steelers defense get gashed week in and week out on the ground. It's a continuation of that. And I don't think that any of us had the expectation that was going to be continued. I think we had the opposite expectation. So it's been such a disappointment through 2 weeks, but I think that that's got to be definitely the main priority for the Steelers defense. And I don't think that the Patriots offensive line is necessarily that great to where I think that the Steelers defensive line should get bullied around. But again, they have been through 2 weeks. And so the Steelers kind of have
I don't think either of the first two offensive lines that they've played, you would necessarily think that though either. So, I'm glad you highlighted the Will Campbell, Nick Herbig matchup. I think that's a big one. We'll see how Nick Herbig fares in the run game and setting the edge. But as a pass rusher, I mean, it's kind of sounds crazy to say because you don't think about him as like an elite pass rusher yet. Like he's a good guy to bring off the bench and just like pin his ears back and say, go get the quarterback. But like he presents challenges, it seems like, despite who the tackle is, like the caliber of tackle. Like you said, I just think he's such a unique pass rusher. And his skill set, it just seems to like transcend the talent, if you will. Like he can go against anybody and he's going to win his share of reps. So I think that's certainly one to highlight. They're going to have to create pressure. Hopefully they can do it without sending as many bodies, because with the way that they've been getting burnt on the back end of things as well, I would like to see them be able to keep a lid on things and play less guys in the box. I also think, like, even though there's not just one easy button to press to fix this run game, I think they are going to try some different things this week. I think you're going to see more of Cole Holcomb this week and a little bit less of Peyton Wilson, something being taken off his plate there. I think you're going to see more Daniel Ekuwale up front, who, talk about revenge games. I mean, he came over from the Patriots. I don't know how he's viewing it. He's not a super vocal guy, so I haven't heard him talk much about this, but I think you could see more of him. I thought he actually was one of the few guys that played pretty well along the defensive line against Seattle. And then obviously Peppers as well. And then the debut of Derek Harmon. So I think there are some little things there. I don't think it's going to magically just turn around what this team has done against the run. I'm not all of a sudden expecting them to hold a team like under 50 rushing yards or anything like that. But I do think that there's subtle things that they can try and see. And that's the big thing, I guess, at this point, right? Like it sounds pretty low. It's a low bar, but they got to try some different things. Clearly what they're doing right now has not worked. I'm all for it. I think they want to get Cole Holcomb more involved. I think different reasons than Jaylen Warren, but there is just still some skepticism, I think, internally about like what all can they put on his plate physically.
Yeah, I understand that, but at the same time, if Peyton Wilson is out there just looking bad like he has through 2 weeks, I don't know how much you can put into questioning how much you should play a guy because you want him to have the rest of the season. I think that it's a good season long mentality to have, but if you're during a game getting beat play after play, I don't think that should really be in your mind and should matter. If Cole Holcomb's a better player on any given Sunday, I think that he should be playing. And I want to see some safeties down in the box. I think that they need safety help in the run game too. And I think that through 2 weeks, I think that missing Deshaun Elliott is also a bigger part than people are going to realize. Like once he gets back, that's why I would love to see Jabril Peppers more in this game. I don't know how much you're actually going to see him, but what he can do in coverage mixed with being able to go down to the box, you can get that from Chuck Clark too. He just doesn't provide as much in the coverage game. And that's why I think when I say like Deshaun Elliott being one of the major injuries for this Steelers defense, like I just think that people probably don't realize how much that dude impacts the defense, like at every level, when in the run game and the pass game.
Can't get him back soon enough. Like it's not the Joey situation where you're talking about like a soft tissue injury, a muscle thing. So like as soon as he can come back from the knee thing, he's going to come back. Hopefully it's in Ireland against the Vikings. We'll see. But like with Joey, you wonder, okay, they have the bye week the following. Does it just make sense to hold him off? Because it's a soft tissue thing that can get re-aggravated. So we'll see. Hopefully Deshaun's able to come back. Then I would certainly think post-bye he'll be good to go. But would love to have him for that game against the Vikings. But not here to talk about that one. We're here to talk about the Patriots. Anything else before to set this one up on a tee, I guess, before we get into our predictions and bold predictions about the matchup from either side?
Nothing in particular. I think that these should be winnable games for the Steelers, which is probably the most frustrating part for me through 2 weeks. Is like from a roster standpoint, like on paper, I feel like even in the Seattle game, like the Steelers, that was a very winnable game, and it was up until a certain moment in that game.
Do you feel differently about this game than you did before the season because of the way the first 2 games looked?
Yes. And not in part just because of the Steelers. I think that Drake May is just very impressive. Like I thought that he was okay coming out of college, but I think that he's excelled what my expectation was.
I thought he was the number 1 quarterback. I have a video about that actually on my personal YouTube page going back quite a bit. But like even with, I'll be honest, I don't think that that's out of the full story hasn't been told in one season. Jaden Daniels was amazing as a rookie. Obviously, Caleb Williams was the guy taken number 1 overall. Drake May was my number 1 quarterback. I think that's possible if that's still the way that plays out.
Yeah, I think that's a possible expectation. But I think that the success that he's had has also altered how I'm looking at it too. Seeing what the Patriots have done offensively so far. Defensively, the Patriots just aren't that big of a threat to me. Like they can stop the run. I don't know how efficient the Steelers are going to be on the ground again, even though they don't really have a ton of. I don't want to say they don't have a ton of talent on the defensive line up front, but they just, like I said, they don't really have elite level players anywhere on their defense besides Christian Gonzalez, and so, but they do have.
What the heck happened with Kyle Duggar? That dude was one of my favorite players like 2 seasons ago. I don't know what in the world happened there. They're like, we talked about how bad their safety room is, and he's not playing. Like he's not really part of it. So I don't know. It's interesting to me that he's still even on that team. But all right, we'll see how it plays out. All right, let's get into some predictions. We'll go back and forth here. I actually have 3. I do have a third one to throw in this week as a little bonus. We'll start on the offensive side here. Also have a theme with my predictions because they are things that are good for the Steelers, but the fans are still going to be a little bit upset about them. You'll see what I mean when we get into it. Offensively, my bold prediction. I mentioned how this Patriots team has been gashed by running backs in the receiving game. You look at what Devon Achane did last week. I think it happens again this week. So we get a receiving touchdown by Kenneth Gainwell.
I feel like Steelers Twitter would probably, but despite having a touchdown, they're still going to be mad because it's Kenneth Gainwell and not Jalen.
It's going to be like when Cordero Patterson scored a touchdown. Like we're like, why is he even in that position? Great.
Why is he in the game?
That position? Yeah. So yeah, that's my offense.
That's funny. That actually would be funny, and if it happens, I'm going to be laughing so hard tomorrow because I don't
have any Jalen Warren fantasy stock.
It would just buy in. It would just buy into the a mantra that like Steeler fans can never be happy. Like we'll always find something to complain about, even if things are going good. So like you score a touchdown, that's a great thing for your team, but we're gonna be pissed about who actually scored the touchdown. So my bold prediction offensively may be very bold. I'm sure that I'm not sure what the betting line on this prop bet would be, but I'm sure that you'd get great value out of it. I'm projecting an Aaron Rodgers rushing touchdown. And I don't think it's going to be like a QB sneak or anything like that. I think that it's going to be a pass play that they're going to be inside the 5-10 yard line, and it's going to be a pass play that the defense scrambles around enough where it creates enough space, and Aaron just takes it in himself.
That might be the most.
Because I did not know how much we'd actually see Aaron take off ever, if at all, this season. But he did it last week on one play where he was trying to get to that first down. And I thought, dang, like 41-year-old Aaron still – I think that his younger self probably gets that first down, but like he still has the boldness to still take off and run with the football if he sees the opportunity to. I think that's going to happen this week.
Like, to me, if it happened – so he's plus 1,400.
I don't know how it's not better value than that. That's a little higher.
So lower than that, Roman Wilson, Connor Hayward, and Ben Skoranek, who have already scored or like Ben Skowronek has already scored a touchdown this year. 1,500, 1,800, 2,400 respectively. So the way that I think it would have to happen for you is like the PA bootleg, but like he just keeps it, but it's from like the 2 or 3 yard line.
Yeah.
Almost like the Justin Fields rushing touchdown, where just like no one even knew that he still had the ball against us. I think that's what it would have to look like, to be honest. Because I'm curious, like, will he even be the QB sneak guy? Like, or I don't know. I'm throwing it out. I'm gonna keep throwing it out there until they do it. And Alan brought this up to Alfredo, tight ends coach, and he said he'd be all for it. Darnell Washington, put him under center when you need a yard.
Teams How many weeks into the season is it going to take for us to even see a QB sneak or a 4th and 1 situation like that? Because we saw a 4th and 1 situation around the 50 last week, and
yeah, we did. Yeah, they did.
I'm sorry, but this is not me trying to like criticize Tomlin too much, but like that was you living in your fears, dude. Like,
yeah, I don't know why.
Can't speak of that, and like it made no sense to me, especially for the defensive battle that it had been up to that point. I felt like it made all sense in the world to go for it on 4th and 1.
Yeah, I don't know why you said you're not trying to criticize. Very much deserving of criticism for that. But just trying to move on. You know, that to me was, from a coaching standpoint, about as bad as Caleb Johnson's.
I was about to ask, what's more egregious, not going
honest,
for it on 4th and 1, or like letting the ball go by you on the kickoff?
I felt like them not going for it there. I even said to Christian, I was like, I think that might be game. And he's like, what do you mean? It's tied right now. I was like, I don't care. Like, that just seems like one of those moments that is very pivotal to the way that it's going to go. Then they go and get a field goal on that drive, kickoff, that happens, and the game's over. So it set the tone for what was about to transpire.
It reminds me last year, what game was it where the Steelers were down by 3 scores, and I think it was in the 4th quarter, and they decided to kick a field goal instead of going for it. There was a game last year where that happened, and it drove everybody nuts. But it's kind of like a similar situation. Like, why are you making that decision? And I don't know. It's so stupid sometimes.
Wait, what was your? Oh, yeah, never mind. Aaron rushing touchdown.
What do you mean? What was mine?
we steered so far away. I forgot what your offensive bold prediction was.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers rushing touchdown. Prop bet.
All right, you're first for the defense.
I don't know how bold this is, but I do think that he's going to be playing down in the box some, and I also don't know how much we talked about how much you might play. I think Jabril Peppers gets a sack in this game.
Okay. DB was a splash play in general, so kind of the same thought process. A sack would go along with that. I like it. So I said my bold predictions are all things that are good, but are going to make people upset. And you understood once I explained my offensive one. So you feel the same way about my defensive one. Derek Harmon gets a sack in this game, but he only plays about 10 snaps. So people were upset, wondering why he didn't play more.
I would understand why people are upset. Great efficiency, though, if it's only 10 snaps and he gets a sack.
Mm-hmm. I just think this is more about getting his feet wet and getting him acclimated and not having to do so in Ireland. Like, play your first game, which is interesting, by the way. Le'Veon Bell, 2013, made his NFL debut in an international game against the Minnesota Vikings because he had that foot injury to start his rookie season. Derek Harmon making his NFL debut internationally against the Minnesota Vikings. That's different place internationally, but came up yesterday. So yeah, Derek Harmon gets a sack, but people are still upset about it because he's not going to play more.
Was that game in London in 2013?
Yeah, I believe so. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, there wasn't too much that they did internationally, so I think so. Yeah, that was probably like the only place that they were going. Brazil wasn't a thing yet. Ireland, obviously.
Well, for some reason, like I was thinking London. But then anytime I think about London in the NFL, I only associate it with the Jaguars. So I'm like, I don't know if it was in London or not. Yeah. I mean, I think that prediction very well could happen because I agree with you where even if he plays, I don't think he's going to play a ton. Mm-hmm. And even though they might need him to, but I don't think he's going to play a ton. But getting a sack That'd be a welcome surprise from the rookie.
They need him to, but they also need him for the rest of the year. Like, I get them not wanting to push this thing full steam ahead already. So
yeah, that's fair.
We'll see. I have
you know who you also need him to play for the rest of the year, but they need to play him more. Jaylen Warren. I know we're talking about defense, but
yeah, throw that in there again. I said I have another one. I think that we did a field flipping play from special teams. So what could all fall under this umbrella? A blocked field goal, punt return. Yeah, blocked punt. I'm not even saying like
prediction.
I threw that out there. I was like, maybe it's although he didn't have one last year. I didn't realize that until afterwards when I looked it up, but he didn't have a blocked punt last year.
Should have cut him.
He's got to he's got to start a new yearly tradition. Yeah, maybe it's the week for that. Vrabel special teams, Alan brought this up to me, typically not very good, which is interesting to me because he just seems like the type of guy that would have good. I don't know what it is. Like he just seems like
didn't they miss a couple PATs last week?
Yeah.
Against the Dolphins?
Yeah, but just in general, like even going back to his Titans teams, like they haven't been very good units. I just feel like, similarly to Tomlin, he's a floor raising coach, and you just feel like those coaches are going to have good special teams units. But I guess Vrabel throughout his time really hasn't had that group. So yeah, I think that we did a field flipping play from special teams, whether it's a block somewhere or a big return somewhere or whatever, forcing a turnover on a kickoff like they did in week 1, something like that. The special teams.
I like that. I mean, you saw that last week, how much a special teams play can affect the game. You saw it in both weeks, actually.
Yeah.
Every single game so far has had one, and they're 1-1 whenever that happens. I think that, I mean, obviously both of them led to points, but last week's was more egregious than the other.
Yeah, last week is directly, they didn't have to do anything, really.
No.
That's as gift wrapped as it gets.
But I think that special teams does get underrated by a lot of people about how much it actually impacts the game. But one thing that I'm grateful for in the special teams department, and this isn't really talking about your prediction, but just having Chris Boswell being as good as he has. When I just thought about this because I mentioned how the Patriots missed a couple PATs a couple weeks ago. Having the kicker that we do, I feel like we just need to be so grateful having the best kicker in the NFL. I never feel nervous anytime he takes the field. It doesn't matter if it's a PAT or a 60-yard field goal. And I told you after the Jets game, I felt more confident in Chris Boswell making a 60-yard field goal than I did the Steelers converting on 4th down. Maybe that's a bad attitude to have, but I did not sweat whatsoever when he was on the field because we've talked about how the leg has gotten longer, and it's easy for him at this point. Like, it's automatic. And so, yeah, don't ever sweat whenever Chris Boswell is on the field. I don't even want knock on wood. Like, is he just going to go 100%?
Yeah. If he misses this week, we know who to blame. Come right back to this show and clip it. But I mean, I fully agree with everything you said, obviously, about him. It's keep saying it, but it's just hilarious to me. Like, this dude does nothing throughout training camp, like literally nothing. He golfs more than he kicks in the summer, and then shows up in stadiums. And
what did I say last week? He and this is the biggest compliment in the world. He gives the absolute minimum effort, bare effort, for the maximum amount of output that anybody does in their job anywhere in the world.
Matt, is this in relation to Chris Boswell? No, I know it's about the team. All right, let's do predictions for the game then. I think we know that Matt's not feeling pretty good then, based off that comment. Yeah. I'll be honest. I think if you're 2 weeks in and you're changing the tone of how you feel about the team overall, you're doing it wrong. I feel like I'm a little bit surprised, obviously, by what the run defense specifically has looked like, but not to the level where it's changing my opinion of what this team is. I never viewed them as a Super Bowl contender. I still view them as a team that is going to make the playoffs, not win the division. and maybe win a playoff game. And it's been that way for a while. But going into week 3 specifically against this team, I'm off already, right? Like they're 1-1. I thought they'd be 2-0 at this point. I thought they would predictably, the first time I thought we'd potentially be talking about a loss would be in week 4 against Minnesota. New England to me doesn't look so drastically different where I'm like, they're going to be a different team than I expected them to be. I'm going to take the Steelers to win this one. I think it's to be a weird score. I'm going to go 27-18, which has happened 2 times in the NFL, that final score.
Did you specifically look that up because you wanted to make that your predictive score?
No, I said it yesterday to Alan. He said that scores happened twice in NFL history, so it is pretty odd. That's interesting.
That is a pretty odd score.
Yeah, like 27 is obviously pretty common, but like 18 isn't so uncommon to me that like I feel like it would have only happened twice.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, I don't get.
Think about how you.
I mean, 18. Matt brings this up, and like we've seen, like there are obviously places where teams just don't win, and like House of Horrors, whatever. Like, but it really doesn't make sense to me, right? Like there's so much turnover on every side.
Belichick and Brady aren't there anymore. That's my main thing.
But you think about the 2 quarterbacks that have beaten the Steelers the last 2 times that they played the Patriots. It's Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi. Like this 100% just has been a team that they haven't been able to beat, but it doesn't make sense to me. I can't carry that over into my predictions because to me it should have no bearing on anything.
Yeah.
So
that's fair. I think that the Steelers are going to win this game as well. I think that it's going to be a high-ish scoring game, maybe similar to the Jets, maybe not as high, but I think that the inefficiencies that you have on both defenses, the Steelers not being able to stop the run, and the Patriots, they're being able to have success through the air against them. I think that leads to I don't want to say like a shootout necessarily, but I think that it's going to be more success on the offensive side of the balls than you have on defense. I think the Steelers are going to win 31-27. Yeah, 31-27.
See, okay, so obviously win's a win. I'll take it, however, and then we can bitch about how we got there afterwards. But I'm curious as to if people would rather win and have like both teams be low scoring. Maybe it's a get right game for the defense, or win in a shootout. I think I would rather have a week where the offense is just like stuck in mud and they win a lower. If I had to pick between the two, I'll take a win however you can get it. But if I'm choosing the way in which we're going to win, I think I'd rather see this be the defense get right and hopefully that be the conversation through the week, personally, than it be a shootout win.
Yeah, I mean, if you gave me the Steelers win like my score 31-27, or the Steelers win 7-3, like I would rather them probably win 7-3 based off how I feel about the team's defense so far. If they only get 3 points against them, that would be a drastic swing.
Because I think that's probably closer to where we thought the units were going to be, not necessarily 7-3. That's pretty drastic.
Oh yeah,
swing.
I went far swing. Yeah,
yeah, but just like relatively close to the expectation for what we were hoping for from the offense and defense, as opposed to if it's another week where the defense is giving up 27 to a not very good offense. I think that carries the conversation more than even them winning.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I mean, there's nothing. Yeah. I'm not. I'm not trying to talk you out of your prediction. Your prediction is your prediction for a reason. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
If given the choice, I think I'd rather see this be a grinded out win than a shootout like that. Just for the narratives that are going to come out throughout the week, if that's the case. But Matt, not feeling good about things. He's got the Steelers losing this one 20-17. Also, we didn't talk about this, and I know that this is specifically for like previewing and predicting this matchup, but like the road ahead looks a lot different all of a sudden over the last week because no JJ McCarthy for the Vikings. So it's going to be Carson Wentz in Ireland, and we're not going to see Joe Burrow at all. Both of these matchups with the Bengals come before Joe Burrow could even potentially return in 3 months. So we're going to see 2 times Jake Browning. So the quarterbacks the Steelers are facing got a lot different over the course of the last week. So I think everything's still on the plate for them. I don't think it's, egregious that they're 1-1 right now. It's not far off from where I thought they would be overall, obviously. Got to right the ship on Sunday, and hopefully they do more than win and actually answer those questions that we have, specifically on the defensive side of the ball. But anything else to close out? Oh, actually, hold on. Matt just brought up something great here. Colts look good. Does anybody remember the New Orleans Saints beginning of the season last year? Now Derek Carr is retired. That was the best offense in football through 2 weeks last year. Got a new head coach now. Their quarterback retired. Looks like a completely different franchise. I like Shane Steichen as an offensive head coach. That's a reminder, though, to pump the brakes. I'm not in on Daniel Jones just because of what the first 2 weeks have looked like.
I was trying to figure out the last time, if ever. Oh, I actually just found it. The last time the Steelers have allowed 3 games in a row where they allowed 30 points to be scored was in 2002. And it was the last 3 games of the 2002 season. They had 31 against them in Baltimore the last week of the regular season, and then 33 points against Cleveland in the playoffs, and then 34 points the following weeks against the Tennessee Titans in the divisional round. I'm not, and I know neither of us predicted that there was going to be 30 points scored on the defense, but if they allow 30 points again 3 weeks in a row, the historic.
Well, they do have 27. The average is still going to be, the average is still be 30.
But
right?
the historic defense is going to continue. The meme is going to continue if they allow 30 points, because it would be the first time in 23 years that they've done that. Allow 30 points 3 games in a row.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's definitely things to be concerned about there. I'm not throwing those away just because it's a 2-game sample size. I'm not saying that. I just think that if you're changing your opinion overall about things just because of the way the 2 weeks have gone, I think you were doing it wrong to begin with. It's also why I don't like to just go and before the season starts, predict an entire season game by game. So
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. But they do lead the league in scoring. Again, the Saints led the league in scoring through 2 weeks last year. I got to see more to believe. I will say in that division, though, 2 wins might win them the division. I'm joking, but man, the AFC South stinks. So, and to me, that's not an overreaction just because I was worried about Houston's offense. I mean, that offensive line is atrocious. CJ Stroud, love him, Ohio State guy, but he's played more average-ish quarterback to me than he has like rookie at this point, the way he looked as a rookie.
Yeah, so it's true.
That division, I think, completely up for grabs, and maybe it is the Colts that stand out amongst the pack. I think 3 teams have a shot to win that division. So we'll see. Appreciate everybody being in here. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell on your way out. This does get uploaded to our audio platforms as well. So if you're listening over there, be sure to leave a 5-star review and subscribe. That's Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast from. We are there. Just search around the 412. You'll find us. Do the same thing on all of our socials. And man, I forgot to even mention any of our sponsors throughout this. Wow. Jumped right into talking about Jaylen Warren and just didn't shut up from that point. So, but shout out to Game Changers. Save yourself $10 when you use code AT412 at checkout on any of their designs. Over 5,000 different designs. Doesn't have to be sports. They got movies, music, television shows, anime, all that good stuff. Over there, you can save yourself $10 when you use code AT412. Teach Barbershop. Download the app, The Cut. Book an appointment with our guy, Christian, or you can do a walk-in with Tony or Ashley as well. Again, that's Teach Barbershop through The Cut. And then, of course, Marcelo Electric, Beaver, Allegheny, Lawrence, and Butler County. 724. Yeah, I don't have the Facebook page pulled up. Definitely do not have it pulled up. So 724-614. Yeah, that's the worst part, is that I don't remember my friend's
0611, I think. 724-614-0611.
I'll tell you in a second.
I'm just trying to think of you reading it.
Same. And it wasn't coming to me. But you're right. 724-614-0611. That's Marcelo Electric. I did get all the counties, so shout out to me for that. Residential, commercial, or service calls.
Unlike the week last week.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you remember, like the first time I did it,
the week that will live in infamy, where you forgot where you lived.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. It's like the first time that we even pulled up the logo and we're talking about him. Didn't say Beaver County. I was like, what's the other one? I live in Beaver County, so that was why it was so funny. Anyways, shout out to all of our great sponsors. Shout out to you guys in the live chat right now, especially you, Matt. Very active down here as we wrap up. I know that you're not feeling great about where the Steelers are at right now.
Very positive too.
hopefully, they can put some of our concerns to bed on Sunday against New England. But if you're watching this back, feel free to drop your predictions down there as well, score or bold. And people do this all the time, but I see the timestamps. I know when you guys comment, you can't come back after the game is over and comment what you think is going to happen. That's not the way that it works. So do that for sure. Hit us up, Weiler_Teach33. I'm Zachary Smith, PGH. Till next time, whether you just watch Steelers Saturday Sit Down, whether you watch the Around the 4 and 2 Steelers show, Penguins coming back as well in the very near future. Smitty Steelers in 60. Maybe some more content on the way. We'll see you. Until next time. Bye-bye.